Assalamu alaikum. Um, Thank you everyone for showing up for Bridging the Gap workshop that we're hopefully inshallah going to take place today. Some of the things that we ask is A, always keep your mask on please, and B, try to communicate without having a barrier between us. As in, the males and females, we're all brothers and sisters here, we're all friends and family, so let's open up today. Majority of the day will take place according to this agenda. We will start off with a trivia where we'll make teams. The girls will have their own team within them and the boys will have their own team within them. We want to hold 5 to 10 people per team. And it's a good activity to break the ice and get to know each other. After that, we will have Maulana Baig give a small speech lecture, and he will continue with his workshop once he's here. After an hour within the workshop, we will take a break for snacks, restroom, anything you want to do for a quick 15-20 minutes. And then we will proceed to completing the workshop and hopefully inshallah lead us to the evening English Majlis at 7:15. So I'd like to invite Ali Asgar to recite a surah or to bless this beginning of the workshop. Salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Ar-Rahman allama al-Quran khalaqa al-insan allamahu al-bayan ash-shamsu wal-qamaru bihusban wan-najmu wash-shajaru yasjudan was-samaa'a rafa'a wa waza'a al-mizan alla tatghaw fil mizan وأقيموا الوزن بالقسط ولا تقصروا الميزان والأرض وزعها للأنام فيها فاقية والنقل ذات الأقمام والحب ذو الأصف والريحان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان خلق الإنسان من صلصال كالفخار وخلق الجان من مارج من النار فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان رب المشرقين ورب المغربين فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان مرج البحرين يلتقيان بينهما برزق لا يبغيان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان يخرج منهما اللؤلؤ والمرجان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان وله الجوار المنشآت في البحر كالأعلام فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان يسأله من في السماوات والأرض كل يوم هو في شان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان سنفرغ لكم أيها الثقلان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان يا معشر الجن والإنس إن استطعتم أن تنفذوا من أقطار السماوات والأرض فانفذوا لا تنفذون إلا بسلطان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان يرسل عليكما شواظ من النار ونحاس ونحاس فلا تنتصران فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان فإذا انشقت السماء فكانت وردة خادعان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان فيومئذ لا يسأل عن ذنبه إنس ولا جان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان يعرف المجرمون بسيماهم فيؤخذوا بالنواصي والأقدام فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان هذه جهنم التي يكذب بها المجرمون يطوفون بينها وبين حميم آن فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان ولمن خاف مقام ربه جنتان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان ذواتا أفنان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان فيهما عينان تجريان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان فيهما من كل فاكهة زوجان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان متكئين على فروش بطائنها من استبرق وجان الجنتين دان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان فيهن قاصرات الطرف لم يطمثهن إنس قبلهم ولا جان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان كأنهن لا يقوت والمرجان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان هل جزاء الإحسان إلا الإحسان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان ومن دونهما جنتان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان مدهامتان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان فيهما عينان نزاقتان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان فيهما فاكهة والنخل والرمان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان فيهن خيرة حسان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان حور مقصورة في القيام فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان لم يطمثهن إنس قبلهم ولا جان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان متكئين على رفرف خضر وأبقار حسان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان تبارك اسم ربك ذي الجلال والإكرام صدق الله العلي العظيم.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Okay, Assalamualaikum. We are ready to start our trivia. Everybody's look who you're sitting next to. Let's make groups of 5. Don't move around. The whole point of this is so you get to know people that you might not know before. Inshallah, everybody has their name tags. We all have masks on. I know it's hard to know who you're sitting next to, but you have name tags. So look around you. The 5 people that are around you are your team. Okay? And every team needs a dry erase board for answers. So you can pass it out on the boys. Maybe take like 3. I think 3 should be good for the boys. Charlie. Okay. And the ladies, I think since we have a bigger turnout here, let's do how many? 10? 7? 7 people. 7 people per team. Yeah. Marker.
Do they need to group up, Damina, or just stay the way they are?
Yeah, if you can, and just turn your like selves around if you need to. If you need to get up, that's fine too. Yeah, if you need to move around, but just push your chairs back like afterwards if you can. Okay, so you're helping.
Girls, come on, take a seat. We're starting trivia. Come on. Does anyone else need a marker? That's a name tag, right? Everybody has a marker? Where's your marker? Which team are you on? Right here? You have a marker? They need it.
So everybody have their teams? All right, so first task is to make a name. Name your team. You have 1 minute.
Once you have a name, just hold your name, hold your board up so we know. Okay, okay.
The more people you have in your team, the better chance you have of winning. You only have 3 people in your team, join that team. Make it 7. All right, boys team, you have a name? Ghazi followers. What's your name? Haidari?
What is yours?
Abdullah. Abdullah and Haidari. Haidari.
I think they just imagined it.
Haidari. Okay. Haidari. All right. Everybody is in a team, correct? Ladies that just came in, you guys find somebody to sit with and join a team, please. You don't have a team? Please join a team. Afroz, yeah. Thank you. Tamara team. Chena, okay, Salwat.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I guess we're just gonna get started on the trivia. Each question you get right, you're gonna write it down on the board and then put the board up. And however many questions you get right, we'll write a score on the board. Yeah. What? And that's yeah. Okay. Question number 1. The migration of the Prophet ﷺ from Mecca to Medina is known as this. Keep your boards down until we tell you guys to put them up. All right, is everyone ready?
Is everyone ready? Okay, boards up. The answer was
Don't change it. Wait, don't change it.
Hijra.
No.
Keep your boards up so we can tally it. Keep your boards up so we can tally it. Okay.
All the teams except for. We're having technical difficulties, so just give us a few minutes and we'll be back. Yeah.
Okay, we're back. The next question is, this is the year of the elephant, Amal Fil, and also the year in which the Prophet was born.
The number.
Number, and yeah.
Don't put your boards up till we say so. Don't use your phones. No phones. No phones.
We see you, men.
We're watching you.
Not yet.
Don't put your boards up until we say so.
Is everyone ready? Okay, I think everyone's ready. Boards up.
Boards up. Who got it right? Yeah, I did. The answer is 570 AD. No, a few people did get it actually. It doesn't count. All right, next question.
Name 2 of the surahs in the Quran that have a wajib sajda.
There's 4 possible answers, but you only have to put down 2.
Also, please make sure your names, like your team names, are on the board so it's easy for the point takers to write it down. Now it's gone. Let's see. Oh. Okay, is everyone ready?
Is everybody ready? All right, the answer is...
Oh, wait, put your boards up.
Put your boards up. Okay, there is Surah Sajda, Surah Alaq, Surah Hamim Sajda, Surah An-Najm. Those were the 4 answer choices you have. If you got 1 right and 1 wrong, then we'll still count it as a point. Yeah, 3.
You guys have
Everybody got it?
extra credit bonus going on or no brownie point? No brownie point. Abdullah's wrong.
Okay, we getting a little hard now. Name 2 of the 4 deputies of Imam Mahdi alayhi salam appointed during his minor occultation. 2 of the 4. Name 2 of the 4 deputies of Imam Mahdi ajallallahu ta'ala farjah sharif appointed during his minor occultation.
Is everybody ready? All right, put your boards up. Okay.
You got 1 minute. 1 minute. Sakina got it. What's your team's name? No. Sarah got it. પેલા ગ્રુપમાં મોહમ્મદ છે ને વાંધો નથી ઘણી વાર કનેક્ટ
Okay, the answers were Usman ibn Saeed Amri, Muhammad ibn Usman, Hussein ibn Ra, Ali ibn Muhammad Saimori. Okay, did everyone get their points? Okay. Next question. Verses 255 of Surah Baqarah, the verse of the throne, is known as this in Arabic.
You cannot scream the answers out loud.
And you cannot use Maulana. Okay, everyone got it? Boards up. Okay, everyone got it. Yeah, Maulana, you can't give answers. Okay, next question.
The answer was Ayatul Kursi.
Okay. Wait, it's not. Okay. Which of the following animals does not have a surah in the Holy Quran named after it? A, camel, B, ants, C, elephant. Okay, is everyone ready? Put him up. The answer was A, camel. Yeah. Name a surah. No. Next question. According to the hadith, who are the 4 best women of paradise? Easy one, guys. They going. Use
There's. Let me ask real quick. Okay. Okay. The answers were Khadija bint. Put your boards up. The answers were Khadija bint Khuwailid, Sayyida Fatima alayhi salam bint Muhammad, Asiya bint Muzahim, and Maryam bint Imran.
Girls got it. All the girls got it.
All the girls got it. Boys are good too.
No, just or. 23. Okay, guys, wait. It's not coming.
Okay, we're starting the bonus round. So the first question is going to be for 5 points. The second question will be for 10 points. The third question will be for 15 points, and the fourth question is for 20 points.
Okay, first question is, what is Barack Obama's middle name?
It gets harder, I promise. Put the boards up. Okay.
Okay, we're going with the girls.
Next question. Where is Jaffari Center's old/first Qabristan located? This one is worth 10 points. 10 points. Put the boards up. Boards up. The answer is Austell, Georgia. wrong.
Okay, our next question is,
When was Jaffari Center established at Patterson Avenue? When? You cannot scream the answers out. Okay, put your boards up, put your boards up.
What year was it established?
Put them up, put the boards up. The answer was 1992.
Okay, the girls can get it.
the last but not least question is worth 20 points. Who was the first Mormon to come to the United States? Put it down. Yeah, I know. Put the board down. Put the board down.
All right, put your boards up. If you're ready, put your boards up. Najah Hussein LP. Zamina Masi is in credit of this question, not us.
It's all the same family.
You can just do that.
Okay, this one is worth 25 points. Girls, you gotta help us out with this one. In this battle, Imam Ali lifted the gates to a city. Which battle was it?
Put it down. Not right now. Ready.
Put it down. Okay, is everyone ready? Boards up. The answer was Khaybar. Ya Ali. Did everyone get it?
So our winner, it was not.
Yeah, everyone won there.
What's that?
Bani Hashemites, Ghazi followers, and Abdullah have a three-way tie. And Haidari. All right, salawat for everyone. Allah.
صل على محمد وآل محمد. Can I please ask everyone to return the chairs back to the setting we had them in, please? Thank you.
Can you collect the boards from the boys?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah, this was a good practice work, and you know, hopefully we break the ice like this in more opportunities in the near future. We're very blessed and honored to have Maulana Baig with us today and the next few days, which he would start off with a workshop after this, and then it will lead into the majlis at 7 o'clock. Again, we will take a break an hour into the workshop. We have snacks, coffee, donuts, water, drinks for everyone. Please help yourself during the break. I just wanted to give you a brief introduction on Maulana Baig here. That I don't know where it went. Okay, never mind. So, Maulana Baig, Hujjatul Islam, Maulana Mirza Mohammed Baig, born, I'm not going to tell you, but he was born in India. So, you know, inshallah, to the Indian generations and all of us here. Right after high school, he decided to start his further studies in Islam. He went to, in 1994, Maulana Baig joined the Islamic seminary in Qom for further studies. He studied in Qom for about 6 years with specialization in tafsir of the Quran. After completing the course, he returned back to the US in 2001. He's been to a lot of states. I'm not gonna, go over the whole travel, but currently he teaches at Islamic Seminary in California, where, mashallah, he's educated a lot of upcoming scholars and Maulanas and sheikhs to help us, our kids, and everyone's kids in the near future, inshallah. Other than that, this is Maulana Baig, guys. Salawat.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Okay, so this is going to be a workshop, which means it's going to be interactive. I'm just going to say something right now just to get it off started. And then, I hope there's a microphone both in the men's side and the ladies' side, that if you can, you have that, right? So you just keep it there, and then when we are going to come to the questions, we'll be able to ask that.
No, I'm going to give you this one, and then we'll keep one in men's and one.
Salawat. All right, I think the subject or the theme for this afternoon is culture gap. Is that right? Age gap, generation gap. Okay, that's good. Generation gap. I think, and also I will add to that culture gap. The reason I do that is because we're not just talking about two generations here. That's what we will talk when we have an audience of, let's say, two generations that have been born and raised in America. Even they will have a generation gap. For example, someone who was raised in the 60s and 70s and someone who's raised in the 90s, you'll see there's a big difference in their thinking and in their views and how they approach things. So here, one of the things that we all need to understand here in this community of yours is that you don't just have a generation gap, you also have a cultural gap. You have a gap of one generation being from one land with certain etiquette, mannerism, ideas, thoughts, process, And then you have a whole different generation is born here from a whole different culture with a whole different language. And that, I think, is more difficult to deal with than just the generation gap. Now obviously I don't know if you have heard the hadith from Imam Ali alayhi salam. Where he speaks about the generation gap. He says that don't make your children do the things the way you used to do them, because they are from a different generation. So there are certain ways that we do things, and we see that the children don't do those things that way. It's because they're from a different generation, right? You are born here, but he's not talking about cultural gap here. You see, that's a bigger thing to deal with. And that's one of the problems we see in America with every immigrant that comes here. It's not just people from India, it's also people who come from East Europe, from Africa, from Asia, from China. Everyone is going through this problem. It's not something just you all who are going through it. Everyone else is also going through it, that their children, they have grown up thinking in a different way. Their mindset is different, your views are different, your priorities are different. What's more important for you is different. For example, if you give me the choice between biryani and pizza, I'll choose pizza. But my dad, he will say halim. But it's okay. That's fine. I can live with having halim one time or two times, and he can be happy also with having pizza one time or two times. But the fact is that there's going to be a huge difference, and that's what we come to. First, I want to get, so that's the theme that we want to discuss. That's the theme. Now, basically, I think, what I got from the ladies here as I spoke to them yesterday and some of the men is about raising the children here, right, in this regard. Now, everyone, let's put it this way. Generations can change. Time can change. Culture can change. But you know what? There's certain things that remain constant. The first thing that remains constant is our fitrat, our nature. That never changes. It's always going to be the same. Fitra is always going to be the same. People today feel hunger, and the cavemen 5,000 years ago also felt hunger. They felt hungry. They had the same emotions. In those days, people used to go out and hunt. We call Uber Eats. But we all are fulfilling our instincts, our basic instincts, what we are going through. We all are doing that, right? So, one thing that doesn't change is fitrat. The second thing, and then because of fitrat doesn't change, you see, Islam, Allah's deen, has not been made for our habits or for a group of people like the Arabs. Allah did not send deen for Arabs. He sent it to the Arabs, but not for them. He sent it for mankind. And by mankind, it means our fitra, our nature. And hence, if our nature doesn't change, then Islam doesn't change. That's why Islam is the thing that we have that's going to remain constant. Language is going to change from Gujarati to English. Food is going to change from papade to chips. But the one thing that's not going to change is Islam. It's going to remain the same. Whether you are 60 years old from India or whether you are 5 years old from Atlanta. Islam will not change. So now, reason I say this is I want us to find the things that connect us to the next generation. What are the things that are connecting us, that are making us one, that bring us together on the same page? That's what's more important for us to look at. You know, the more we pay attention to the things that you see are changing, the more we'll see, oh my God, what's happening? We're losing our identity, you know, we will not be the same anymore, and all of these things. But no, we are the same. What was more important for you back home? Was it your food or your language? What helped you or your elders when they died and went into their grave? You think their food helped them, or their language or their culture helped them? No, it was their deen that helped them. It's the deen that helped them. That's why you're making Fatiha for your marhumeen. Right? I mean, that's why you're doing that. Why? Because that is what's helping them. And so those things that are real in our lives should be kept alive. Things that are transcendental, they are like accidental and incidental in our life, can be sacrificed. And according to history, will be sacrificed. They will be sacrificed. There is no way that you will be able to keep it alive. Unless, of course, if you become the majority in America. In which case you can keep alive your language and your food and your culture. But if you are going to be a very small minority somewhere, we are eventually going to get mixed up and the color is going to become all the same. That is a reality that no one can deny. It's like death. That's going to happen. No one has been able to keep that alive or not. The one thing that you can keep alive is Islam. Islam is what you can keep alive in your children. Give that to them, and that's important. So if you understood that, now let's talk about Islam, because the idea I got from the elders is that, okay, how do we raise children here to make sure that they're balanced? Now if you're looking at Islamic way of looking at children, then let's go into that. I will give you a secret for raising children here. That a household that Islam has told us and Allah has recommended us and we have been told, but most people don't follow. Most people don't follow that. In fact, I have yet to meet someone who does. But there are people, I should say that. I haven't met that many people, but there are people who do follow it. So I want us to understand this, my friends. One is that one thing that can help us raise our children. Now, I'm not just talking to elders here. I'm also talking to youngsters here because they need to know how they fit into all of this. All right, guys? We are going to go into that. Let's sing the salawat. Very well. You know, let me give you an example first. You know, when you want to organize something or do something in life, you make a resolution for New Year's or something like that, and you start a project, you know, I'm going to make a new Dairy Queen or something like that. So if you do have a project, any project, there are different ways of approaching it. The wrong way to approach it is to make out a list of things that you have to do from A to Z and then start doing it one at a time. Such an endeavor always ends up in frustration and you never get things done. For example, you have a list of things, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, you're trying to go through these things, you will see that it's very difficult to organize something like that, to do something like that, to go on about things like that. For example, in akhlaq, you have all of these issues. I do ribat, I lie, I cheat, all these things, and I want to rectify all these things. So I list all out my weaknesses and defects, and I want to do one thing at a time. Such a thing never works out. Because, you start not doing hiba, it's like no more hiba, no more hiba, no more hiba, then you go to Moment Center, Jaffari Center. And then what happened? All of a sudden, you become a victim and a culprit. This is what happened, and then you have to start all over again. You get frustrated. This is not the way Allah wanted us to do things, to improve. Allah mentions all the guna. These are guna, these are guna. But if you want to stop yourself from each and every guna, it never works out that way. And you'll see it leads to frustration, and this is not the way of growth. You can't handle things like, it's not the right way of approaching. The right way of approaching, my friends, is this. There's always in everything, one key thing, one basic thing that is so important that if you can do that, then everything else will be all right. Everything else will be, wow, this is great, it's all right. It helps everything else. A lot of things. That fundamental issue. So what is that in terms of akhlaq, in terms of deen? For example, Allah says, As-salat tanha anil fahsha'i wal munkar. Namaz will prevent you from doing any wrong. Any wrong. So I don't need to stop doing ghibat. I don't need to stop cheating. I don't need to stop lying. All I need to do is improve my prayer. The prayer is going to rectify everything else. See, Allah gave a fundamental issue that pay attention to this, everything else will be solved. Everything else will be solved. So this is the issue in every field that we look at. What is that one issue that can help us with everything? So if you understood that example, now I will give you the example about raising children. What is it? One fundamental issue of raising children and building a family that is so important and crucial that it can solve many problems in a family. Many issues in a family. There has to be something Allah gives. Allah help us to give that one thing that if I can just practice that, then you know what? It will solve so many problems after this. Very good. So if I got you there, let's see what that is. What is that one thing that we can learn that it will solve everything in our family? That thing is very simple. You know, a family is built from husband and wife, right? That's the bedrock of a family, the husband and wife. That's why a nikah and marriage is the core of human life. You know, before they were children, they were husband and wife. Before they were parents, they were husband and wife. Allah did not create parents first and then children or brothers or sisters. The first thing that Allah created was a husband and wife. And all of the relationships came out of that. Adam and Hawa were the first one, and that their relationship was husband and wife. So Allah made two genders to create the family. All right? So now, in this, both of them are needed. How? What's the way? that we do this? How would you like to know? How much do you like to know? I got everyone's attention. It's good. So here's the thing. How did that happen? Here it is, my friends. The husband and wife both need to work together. To do what? My friends, the husband, the man, should be the commander in the house, and the woman should be the nucleus and the heart of the house. The man should be the commander, the woman should be the thing. The man should emphasize to the children that they need to respect their mother. And the mother needs to emphasize to the children that they need to listen to the father. This is the core of building a family. When the roles are reversed or not played right, then imbalance occurs in the tarbiyat of children. You can take them to the best Islamic schools, you can teach them and give them the best teachers. Whatever they learn, you will see that they will learn incorrectly or they will process it incorrectly. Because the basic balance has been disturbed. Basic balance. A woman should be the nucleus of the house, meaning she's the one who's holding everyone together through her love. The man should play the role of making sure everyone is disciplined and guided. That should be his job. You know, this roles are played right, then a family finds balance. Children who are raised in the family finds balance. Otherwise, if you don't play the roles right, if the woman starts giving orders in the house, and if the men start saying that, oh, I love you, my son, you know, such like that, you know what will happen? Those kids are going to grow up not knowing how to process information correctly. If you teach them about being brave, they will become zalim. If you teach them about being modest, they will become cowards. They won't know how to practice or how to understand concepts correctly. They grow imbalanced. This is the basic thing that is needed in a household. We need this. First establish that, then you will see everything that works. I'll explain that to you. Let's send the salawats. You know, this lady comes to me and she's a teacher of Quran in the Sunday school. You know, very knowledgeable and very aggressive also, right? And she comes to me and says, Maulana, you know, my daughter does not stop wearing hijab. I said, all right, you know, a lot of people have stopped wearing hijab in America, you know. So what's the issue? I'm a Quran teacher. And then I took her to the best schools and everything, and now she's like refusing to wear hijab. And you know, like she was like an aggressive type, you know. So you know, I said, all right, I just want to ask you one thing, right? I mean, just want to ask you one thing. Do you have a husband? I said, yes. He doesn't know anything. Okay, good. I asked him that, I asked her that, listen, well, wow. So this husband of yours, tell me, did you, as your daughter is growing up, used to comment about how ignorant the father is? How dumb he is and how much he doesn't know? You know? What does that have to do with anything? that is why today she doesn't have respect for command. Because you destroyed the commander in the house. His image. What portrayal that he has in front of the children, you destroyed it. By talking to him, always putting him down and always telling the kid, you see, your dad's just ignorant. Now that daughter of yours doesn't respect authority. He doesn't respect authority anymore. That's what happens. You see, my friends, when you actually see how things work, and for the men's side also, a young couple just got married, not even 6 months. And so the dad, he comes to me with the son and says, you know, the son, he's stupid, you know, this and that, this new generation, blah, blah, all these things. What happened, you know? Well, he wants to get divorced from his wife. It's only been 6 months. He wants to get divorced from his wife, and that's it. So I asked the kid, I was looking at the kid, right? I didn't ask anything. I asked the dad, tell me, why is this happening? Well, he does not respect his wife and this and that. I said, listen, when your children were growing up in your house, did you ever put down your wife in front of them, ridicule her, said how stupid she is, made those comments to the children in front of them? I don't know, what does that have to do with anything? I said, that's exactly the reason why. Because if you disrespected their mother, how do you think that they will respect any other woman in their life? They will never be able to respect anyone in their life, any woman in their life, if they can't respect their mother. You destroyed it. So you see the effect that wrong roles have on children and them growing up. I just gave you these examples so you know what we are talking about. Now, let's come to the role of the commander and the nucleus and the love, the heart. The commander, right? Allah made man to command, to give commands, to say do and don't. This is the specific role of a man, not a woman. A woman should not say do and don't. She should not say. It's the man who should say do and don't. Right? That's his role. A woman should come from the angle of love, never the angle of a dictator or a commander. It would be completely wrong for a woman to do that. Now, so what are you saying, Maulana? Are you saying that a woman should not give anything to the kids, should not say anything to the kids? No, she should say many things to the kids. She should tell them what to do and what not to do, but not as a do and don't, not as a command and prohibition. The way she says things must be centered on love. How does that work? Well, here's how it works. Instead of saying, don't do that, say, if you do that, I'll be upset with you. If you don't do this, I'll be very sad. You see that? This is how a woman approaches. This is a feminine way of raising and telling your children what to do and what not to do. Allah uses this in the Quran when He talks to mankind. He says, Inna Allaha yuhibbul muttaqeen. Allah loves those who are muttaqeen. See, this is the feminine side and the feminine method that Allah is using to approach us. That Allah doesn't like when we do this. Allah hates it when we do this. You see, this is how Allah approaches it. This is the way a woman should talk to the children. Men should talk as Allah does in the Quran, do and don't also. So this is a masculine way that you should talk. So men should use the masculine language, the orders, the commands. And the woman should use the feminine way. Now, Unfortunately, we live in the West where people here have learned to put down the role of woman. Isn't that right? Isn't that the way it is? Yeah, who's that? Young girls, getting all that feminartsy, getting ready. That's fine. That's right. So what happens is this, right? When you look at it, this is what happens. The role of a woman is put down as an insignificant, irrelevant role. And that's why women now want to become men. They want to become like men because men are respected more. And this is the unfortunate reality of society that we live in today. Why can't we respect a woman? In fact, we are all guilty of this. For example, when we want to praise a woman, she's a doctor. Oh, she has achieved this. Okay, why can't we just say she's a mother of 3 kids? Wow, really, alhamdulillah. That's amazing. Why is that not something regarded as great? Because we ourselves have learned from the West how they think, and their thinking is messed up. That's why their society is messed up. If we actually look at the role of the mother, Allah gives that the most importance, more than what the men do. And that's the reason why, the only reason why Allah has made specific rules for women that are not for men. Did you know that? It's because the role that she has as a mother is so important for Allah that Allah changed His Shariat in order to fit that role. Why is it that a woman, her witness is half of that of men? Meaning one woman gives a witness, if 2 women gives a witness, it's equal to 1 man. Why is that? Why do you think that is? It's because, you know what? Giving a witness means that you have to go to court. You have to sit through the trial until your time comes up. And then you'll be wasting all this time there. So Allah says, listen, your role as a mother is so important, I don't want you to waste your time. Let the men waste their time. That's to discourage women from voting, from being a witness in a court. Why would you want to go for jury duty? It's a waste of time. Why would you want to end up there? So you don't want that. So Allah says, no, we don't want them and waste their time as a witness because their role in the house is much more important than the man. You see, this is why it's important for us to understand Deen correctly. Then we'll know where everything fits in. All the rules that have to do with women that are different than men is only because of this role as a mother that she has, that Allah has curved Sharia and shaped it so that it can accommodate a woman being a mother. This is why you see, for example, whenever you look at women and the role of women, it is important for us, for Allah. And this is the reason why it's now, for example, for us to see that she should play that role, and that role is stronger than the role of the man. I'll give you an easy example, and then we'll open stage for question and answers. We can go from there. An example from our own Deen, all right? My friends, how many Masumeen do we have?
14.
What? 14, good. And how many male are there?
13.
And how many female?
1.
Okay, so 1 female Masum was all that was needed for 13 men. You know that one job that one woman can do equals to 13 men doing their job. See, she holds the weight of all the other Masumeen and she becomes the nucleus. هم فاطمة وأبوها وبعلها وبنوها. One Fatima, who's the mother of us, our actual mother, Fatima, one is needed to bring everyone together and to hold us together. Today, everyone is attached to Ahlul Bayt through her love, because of the love that she had. And that's it. That's enough for you to understand the role that a woman plays. And if the woman loses that and becomes a man, then she loses her power. Her power is finished. Her power is in the feminine power that Allah gave her. She should be that. And she should use that power to, because that is what's needed to hold everyone together. That's what's needed. And for a family also. And for the men, yes, it doesn't mean that the men know everything, that they are like, so knowledgeable they can say do's and don'ts. I know that most men don't even have enough knowledge that the women have. But still, the men should give the order. So if the wife, what she should do is she should tell the husband, tell this to the kids. Say this to the kids. If he doesn't know that, you tell them. When he comes back home tired from Dairy Queen, hey, listen, that might be Dairy Queen, but I'm your real queen, So what happens is that you need to tell him that, listen, we have kids at home that they need this, so please tell them this and be stern with them. So that you should be the leader. They should not doubt who's the leader in the house. This is how children, when they are raised in this, they are raised in a balanced way. And that's what we see in the marriage of Bibi Fatima and Imam Ali. And every ideal marriage that came about, what Ahlul Bayt and what Islam has told us. All right, that's it. I will end my talk here. Now we will open the questions for more specific questions you might have about certain things. Wow, it's been like 45 minutes already.
Thank you so much, Maulana. Do we have any questions?
We have a mic over here on the men's side, so you all go ahead, men, and we have a mic here on the ladies' side. So go here and ask questions. It doesn't have to be just about this. We are talking about the whole concept of the generation gap and age gap. And you can go ahead.
Maybe you need to ask us some questions to start it off.
Yeah, but
No, I was going to ask you to ask us some questions to maybe open it. Yes.
All right, sure.
I guess if it's okay, I can ask a question.
Yeah, sure.
When you came to the workshop with the title "Bridging the Age Gap," what kind of expectations did you have from this talk? Are there some things that you guys are noticing with your generational gap between your parents and yourself that it's hard for them to understand, or the parents going through things they're unable to understand the children? We can start it off like that.
Yeah, sure. What? All right. So what's the number one issue that you feel? Okay, I'm talking to adults now. What's the number one issue that you feel is happening with your children that you would want changed? I'll get to the children later. Yes. Go ahead, everyone.
So we have somebody from the ladies saying, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Hold on. The mic is coming to you.
It's about the bridging of the tarbiyat.
Right.
So how can we fill the bridging tarbiyat that our kids has not gotten?
Okay, be more Specific, right, elaborate on that.
So the way it is bridging the gap, the age gap. So I'm talking about, bridging of the tarbiyat. Same thing how we're talking about the age gap.
Okay. Well, I think I understand what you're saying, but so here's the thing. What I said at the beginning, we need to give to the children those things that will help them and make them strong and keep that connection between us. It will appeal to their mind, not their emotions. You see, for example, a lot of us give more importance to the emotional things that we have. Things that we were emotionally attached to back home. And those emotions the kids don't feel. They don't feel those emotions that you felt. But what made sense to you back home also makes sense to the people here, because logic is universal. If something was logical then, it's still logical now, if you can make sense of it. So you should give the things that are logical, not emotional, not sentimental. Sentimental things, the next generation doesn't understand your sentimental things, People in the 70s when I grew up, used to wear yellow pants, and checked shirts. I always hated them, but now if anyone wears looks like that, I said, what time machine did you use? Where were you stuck, Obviously nowadays that's different. Things are different, but that person was it was very great for him, having those type of things. But now it's different. So sentimental things don't transcend the age gap. Never, in any place, anywhere. What does transcend is logic and sense. And Islam is sensible. The principles of Islam are sensible. They are able to translate that. And the children here would also accept it. They'll be like, yeah, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. You see, here's the thing. Now let me just also address something else, since it's here, Muharram and this and that, right? Like, for example, we have never understood, but we do it. We have never understood why we do matam. I can ask every Shia, why do you do matam? And I know I'll get the wrong answer. But we do it because, hey, that's the way it came down from Ahlul Bayt. And we do it. But why do we do it? I ask you, okay, why do we do matam? Why do we cry? Why do we, for example, have alam? So you see, now these are important things to us. But because we haven't understood them, then we're unable to express them to our children. And the way we express them to our children is, this is what we do. This one woman, like we had this alam at one place, this one woman, she brings her kid, girl, to the majlis, and she's the alam over there, and he taps her and go down on it. And the other Americans were sitting there, what are you doing? What are you doing to that girl? They didn't know, they were like aghast. So why are you dealing with her like that? Why are you treating her like that? We don't know how to express ourselves. Because we don't know how to express ourselves, we're not able to translate the sentiment that I feel with this alam to my children. And then we want them to have the same emotion as we do when they see it. And they don't, because they don't have those sentiments as you do. There needs to be an explanation. There needs to be an explanation. There needs to be knowing of these things. But I'm just giving that to you, that you need to know. For example, when I was, in Tampa, I was there for some time in Tampa, and a lot of Americans became Shias there, And when explained about the Muharram and about the Azadari and the sacraments that we have, you know, in Tampa right now, the house of Fatima that's there, you see that it's the Americans. They're all Americans there. It's Americans who take out the alam and who do the matam and who write the nohas. Americans do that, you know, because they understood why. If explained right, then you're like, yeah, wow, we have to do this and we have to keep on doing it. But it has to be explained right, right? So these are things that when we speak to the next generation, how we need to first, those things that are logical. All of these things are not sentimental, they're logical first, then they're sentimental. There's sense behind it, there's reason behind it. You know, that we might not know the reason, but because we are just sentimental over it because we grew up with that. But there is sense behind it. All right, so just in that, one of the ways is expressing logic, as you're saying, as opposed to sentiments and trying to tell them that if I'm sentimental about this, you should be sentimental about this also. All right? Yes, sister.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum.
So the question, I kind of want to elaborate from what you just said. The biggest question me as a parent that I usually get is culture versus religion and traditions, right? So how, I know you said explain logically, but any way to do it, like, you know, explain it, because it's when your kids are like Islamically inclined, they're asking you, well, this is not part of, you know, religion, but it's part of culture, but
Right.
we still do it. So I think that's the biggest question I always get as a parent.
Okay, very good question, right? Here's the thing. Define culture. You know, why is culture there in the first place? Let's look at that. Then you will understand that the way that they're using culture is actually incorrect. You know, culture is a very powerful force. Is a very powerful force. When something becomes a part of your culture, then you will go out of your way to do that. I mean, anything that becomes, you will see, anything that becomes a part of a people's culture, they will go out of their way to do that. Meaning it might be insensible, but they will do it. You know, for example, if I ask you right now, let's go out and buy a $10,000 dress that you're going to wear for one day only and throw it away after that. Would you do that?
Yeah.
And you wouldn't do that, right? But everyone does it on their wedding.
Yep.
It's your culture, right? It's your culture. Your culture makes you do things that doesn't make sense. But you do it and you're happy doing it. You're happy to do it. Whether those things are bad or wrong, it's not an issue. It's culture. For example, have you ever seen that Japanese dress they wear, the kimono? You know, I mean, you wear that dress, it's so like, you know, a horrible dress, you know? You can't even walk, you know, and all of that. Why are you going through such problems in your life? It's culture. It's culture. When things become a part of your culture, it becomes a strong force. And that's why, for example, we want to make our religion a part of our culture so that it becomes a strong force to make us do those things. It becomes a force in us. But what happens is this. For a lot of people here who come from India, a lot of these things were a part of their culture, and hence they do it. But religion, those things in religion to the people raised here, hasn't become a part of their culture yet. And that's why they don't feel that push to do it. It has to become a part of their culture, and it's going to take time, over years. When Islam will grow, you will see that it will become culture here. It will have its own flavor, its own taste, but the azadari will be there. But it will have its own life. You go about. So culture is an important thing in human life. If we don't have culture, we're not interested in anything, you know. Culture is what makes us do things that are that we wouldn't do normally. So it is a force that we have to use. But our deen hasn't become a culture yet. Yes, okay, brothers, go ahead.
Yeah. Can you explain in practical terms the hadith by Imam Jaffari Sadiq about the 0 and 7, 7, 14, 14, 21
Okay.
ages of children?
Yeah, well, I mean, you heard the hadith obviously many times before, right? It's like certain guidelines have been given. Now, guidelines is not like, for example, very rigid guidelines that is in. It's more like a loose idea, right, as to when to change the role and the relationship that you have with your child. And in what way. You see, we have certain things in human beings, right?
I'm sorry. Could you tell the hadith for the people?
Okay, right. The hadith that says that when your child is from the age of 0 to 7, you treat him like a king, and when he's from the age of 7 to 14, you treat him like a slave. And when he's from 14 to 21, you treat him like a minister, like your advisor. Okay? That's the hadith. But each of these things has a different role. For example, we have a fitrat in us, an instinct in us of lazzat, of pleasure. We are told to go after pleasure. Naturally, we like to enjoy. Human beings are made to enjoy. They are made to go after lazzat. And hence, that lazzat, it sometimes can destroy us. That going after those pleasures can destroy us. But there's a proper time for it. When is that time? So Allah says that, listen, the proper time for you to enjoy is from 0 to 7. To take out that lazzat that is in your nature at that time. And hence you give the child the room to do whatever he wants, to play, so that that thing can come out of his system. That system of that. And then after that, because if a child doesn't play at that time and doesn't get over that nature that he has of enjoyment at that time, then it's going to always remain in him in his adult life as something that he never enjoyed. For example, someone never went to the prom, Now for his whole life, they're like, I never went to the prom. I want to go to prom when I'm 55 years old, Take it easy, man. These issues remain in life. These issues remain in life for a person. That's why that's the age for them to take that out. Then the other aspect of a human being is obedience, discipline. Obedience has to be drilled in. You see, obedience is natural in us. We are obedient naturally. But what happened is that because we are not trained to obedience in the right time, that obedience always becomes a problem later. You see, if that child was trained in obedience from the age of 7 to 14, Allah says that's the time to train obedience, instill obedience in him for the rest of his life. And if you miss that time, now obedience will always become an issue in your life.
To what extent do you, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but to what extent do you teach obedience to?
Well,
give us an example.
Well, here's the thing, right? Obedience means sama'na wa ata'na. Allah says in the Quran, I hear, I obey. You as the authority in the house, when you say, do this, it should be like, yeah, give me a minute. Let me give you a minute. You don't get no minute, You better get that thing done right now. The fact is that why is he even answering back to you? You see, there's a problem there. He should not be answering back like that. There's a problem in his obedience. Obedience is inside of us, that it's natural, but because we destroyed it, we never instilled it in time, now it becomes a problem in the future. But now when we have to pray, we are having such a hard time, obeying Allah. Allah says, do something that we don't like, and we're like, oh. So the right way to make a child into an adult, right, is from that age, to make him do what you said and take pleasure in that. Let him do it so much that he finds pleasure in it. That he comes to you and says, is there anything I can do for you before I go to sleep? That's the way he should be. He should reach that point, because he should lose his fear of hard work. He should lose his fear of hard work. A hadith of the Prophet that's dangerous. That he said regarding the children of Akhir Zaman. And he said that woe unto the parents, mu'min parents of Akhir Zaman. He said, woe unto the parents of Akhir Zaman for raising their children badly. So the companions asked him, which parents are there? Kafir? Mushrik? He says, no, mu'min, believers. Mu'min parents. He says, what will happen to them? He says, they will raise their children as, like in Urdu we say, dhile. Loosely, without any morals, without any hard work, that they'll become spoiled. The spoiled brats. Just filthy. Spoiled. Like that. And you know what? These children will become useless. They're useless. The fact is that they haven't learned the value of hard work. It doesn't mean you're poor or rich. I've seen many rich people who will make their children discipline at home. It says, hey, if we have money, it doesn't mean that you should be lazy. We need to be hardworking and love hard work. If I do back-breaking work and all of these things, you should love this, to do something like that. So this is what needs to be done at that age. Break that into him so that he loves it. Once he gets it there, the rest of his life, he'll be the same. He will never change after that. The rest of his life, he will always be hardworking, he will always be obedient, he will always be law-abiding. Because he knows that this is, he finds enjoyment in it. Right? So that's the meaning of that age that we have. And then from that onwards is that now his aql, that he needs to practice choice. You see, choice is a very important thing. When do you practice choice in your life? Have you ever practiced choice in your life? You should take time to practice choice in your life. Window shopping is practicing choice. Just going on Amazon and looking at different things, that you want to buy. You don't have to buy them, but just saying, what should I choose if I have the choice between 5 things? Based on what? This is practicing choice. Using your aql to choose the best. Knowing how to choose the best. That's from 14 to 21. That's what he needs to learn. How to choose the best in his life out of the choices that you have. Need to know these things correctly. And a person should do that. That's the idea of that hadith. Yes?
We have a few questions from online viewers.
Sure.
Assalamu alaikum. If a woman finds herself in a relationship where her husband does not take the authoritative role, does the responsibility fall on the woman in that situation?
No. Here's the thing, right? There's need of counseling, that she needs to talk to her husband and say that, listen, you need to play this role. I can't be the commander in a house, You need to play that role. He needs to talk. They need to have a real talk. You see, the husband and wife, instead of them spending time watching movies or these type of things, they need to be actually having talk amongst themselves because they are partners. And they need to be serious about the things that need to happen. And the better you're able to express yourself to each other and to let your concerns be known to each other, the better it will be for everyone in the house. And so that relationship needs to be done with the husband. That person needs to be encouraged. If he's unable to do that because his wife says so, then someone else in the family needs to get involved and say to the husband that, listen, take this role. You need to play this role because you chose to play this role. You are a father. That's the idea of being a father. What do you think the father is? This is the role of being a father. Yes.
Well, does anyone have a question?
Assalamu alaikum. The 7, 14 and 21 as you talked about, we were raised in India and we were not raised according to that time limit training. So what is your advice for us? So the mothers, we are raising kids in the different environment than Indian environment, American culture and all these gaps. What are the responsibilities of mother with the culture and with the religious aspects of alam and knowing the things which are very deeply rooted in our blood, and kids are asking the questions about why this is necessary, why we are doing this, why we are not. Is it not necessary for the ladies of the household to understand it first?
Yes.
So from my point of view, I understand that before sending the kids to madrasa, the mothers needs to be taught. And because we are from India, that's not a very organized madrasa there. And we learn a little bit here and there, and we are learning here, and as from Imam Hussein's mimbar, we also learn. But for the particular training from 7 to 14 to 21, what is your advice to mothers?
Okay.
Thank you.
First of all, let's say the salawats. There needs to be a madrasa. You shouldn't have madrasa for children, There needs to be a madrasa for adults, of how to be parents and how to understand deen and how to teach that deen. Because I tell you right now that no madrasa, no hausa can take the place of parents. You can't replace parents with anything else, or with a madrasa or anything. It's the parents that are the first and the only madrasa of the children. If they're going to learn from them, and that's it. That's where they're going to learn everything from. So it's the parents that need to be having a more systematic learning of Islam. And having madrasa for parents, that's more important than children. And when they become knowledgeable, they will give the knowledge to the children. They will be able to tell them and express things to them in the right way the first time. You see, the issue is that if you don't explain Islam right the first time, then the second time becomes more difficult. Like for example, you explain something to the child, let's say it was wrong, then you go to the alim, and the alim says something, and then say, well, you said this, And the human being in this nafs is very sharp. He always tries to find excuse not to do it. And the children are too. And the children will be like, you all need to decide what's right. And then you come back to us, So saying things the first time is important. If you don't know it, don't say it. See, a lot of times it's not just you, not only it's also ulama. I'm not gonna, ulama, yes. Sometimes you ask them a question and they don't know the answer, and you know what, just as they used to say, if you can't convince them, confuse them, They'll take something out of their pocket and give it to you. They're like, he said some ayat and hadith, you know. But it happens, you know, and it's like, well, no, I mean, really, if you don't know it, just say, I don't know it. It's better than to say something that will have to be rectified later. Not knowing it is fine. Yes, I don't know it. But if I say something as incorrect, now to go back and rectify what I said, you know, now the guy already lost, he lost credibility. You know, I mean, he doesn't think that you are credible now because you changed your answer. You're flip-flopping. All right? So, yes, I think there should be a madrasa for adults. That should be emphasized more than the children. Yeah.
So we have, do you mind if I take online question?
Yeah.
So we have 2 questions. I think they fall into the same thing, so I'm gonna read both the questions to you. How to fill gap between generations of siblings. Older sibling is more grounded towards family, while younger sibling is more grounded towards friends, social media, etc. When asking my child something, I feel like my child is responding to me in an ill manner. How can I better the communication between us due to the age gaps we have?
Well, I mean, here's the thing, right? It's difficult. You know, the reason I say it's difficult is because, you know, I'll give examples of Islamic schools I've been to. And in Islamic schools, you have like parents teaching or immigrants that are teaching. Now, immigrants, whether you're from Arabs or Iranians or any place else, right? They have a different way of communicating with each other, you know. And here you have a different way to communicate with each other. For example, if you go to a school here, you'll see that the teachers, they talk to you in a way in which you listen. Because they know how to talk to you, because you're from here, they know that. They know the ways of communication. The teachers who come from, you know, back home, they don't know the ways of communications here. They use the communications there. And the way that you use them there is list, you know. And in fact, it's taught in sales. If you've ever been in sales classes, you will see that they teach you this. You know, there was a class in which they will teach you how to sell things to different groups of people. So when it comes to Indians, they say that, listen, you offer them whatever you have to do, and then when you see them that they're wiggling away, just raise your voice. Raise your voice, and they'll be like, okay, I'll buy it. You know, and that's it. You see that? This is a mentality. They know psychology. So what happened? They think that the children here will be the same. Just raise your voice to them and they'll listen. And when you raise your voice to someone over here, they don't feel that, oh, I need to cow down to them. They feel actually insulted and offended, and now they become defensive. What? Are you kidding me? Really? Is this where we're going with? You know, that's what happens. They have a different reaction here. And in a school, I saw that, you know, like the teachers like shouting at the kids, you know, just to make them sit down in a certain place, and those girls didn't want to sit down there, you know. And they were shouting, and I'm like, I just walked by, and the teacher's like embarrassed, you know. Oh, I'm sorry. I said, you know, you don't need to shout at them, you know that, right? You know, but it was like that. They don't know how to deal with things. So a lot of times what happens, right? I empathize with the parents because their children have grown up with a different language. So now when you talk to them, you're not as convincing, you know, with them. I think, you know, that it would do well if parents do take classes of communication, you know, of how to say things. Not what. They already know. The parents already know what to say. It's about how they should say it. What's the approach of this? What's the right language? What's the right words to use? You know, it's very important that you know how to communicate with, you know, your children, your workers, anyone. How do you talk to them?
So we're going to take one more question from the ladies, and then we're going to take a 15-minute break. But I just want to make an announcement. Like, you know, this workshop is for you guys to let parents know, let the community know what can, as a parent, what can I do? Like, I'm talking to my own kid. What can I do, or what differences can I make to help you? Right? I mean, most of you guys in here are parents, and most of you guys in here are students that will be parents soon. So why not learn from the mistakes the above age personnel have made, so you avoid that? So guys and girls, don't be shy, and there's nothing wrong in a question. And take advantage of this, that we gathered this many, mashallah, we've never had this many people participate.
We have three methods of asking questions. You can use the slido.com #Jaffari to ask a question. You can write it down on the index cards and the pens that were passed out when you walked in, or you can ask them live here. So use this opportunity.
There's no shame. I mean, go online, ask the question. It's anonymous. No one's gonna know. And I'm talking to every age group. If you know how to type, you can ask a question. I mean, you guys are keyboard warriors when it comes to games and things like that. This is the time. Let's better everyone's togetherness.
All right, who's the last? Good.
My question is, how do we talk to our parents about how we feel about things without causing a fight?
Oh, well, yes. That's also another issue, right? Because, the way that youngsters talk to adults in India is that they did. You just don't talk to them. That's how it is. In India, you do everything behind their backs. And they'll be all right as long as you do everything behind their back. But unfortunately, that's the culture there. You just do everything behind their back and do all of that, and then, just show a good face at home. But no, how do you really want to talk to them at home? I understood something, right? If someone is serious about something, and he talks from a serious point of view, then everyone will listen. If it's more like a joke or something unimportant, then you know what? No one will pay that attention, especially parents. Parents will listen to their kids if they see that their kid actually means it. So whatever you need to talk to them about, it has to be something serious to you. It has to have meaning for you. And you need to talk about it seriously. That I want to talk to you. Let's have a meeting. This meeting? Yes, let's get together and have a meeting and a family meeting, and I want to say say things about something. Whatever it is, whether what courses you're taking in college or anything like that, but something that's important. And then you say things, and you will see that. I have myself been through this, and I've had the ability to capture the attention of my elders, when I wanted to talk to them. And so what happened is that I realized that if you are serious about it, and if you're able to talk with them in a serious manner about something that is important, then they will listen. They'll listen. But if they see that you are just a kid and you don't know what you're saying, then obviously they will not give you that attention and that importance. So make yourself such that you should be heard. That's why, for example, there are certain things in Islam we have been told not to do emphatically. One of them is don't lie. Don't lie. Because we have hadith from Imam Ali that the unfortunate thing about a liar is that even his truth is considered a lie. Don't lie. Lying is that, don't joke around. When you joke around too much all the time, and that's what you're known for, then even when you have to do something seriously, people will laugh at it. Because they expect, you are not a serious person, you're a joker. And so certain things we need to do to maintain our character. This is for our own character, that when we maintain a character like that, then you will see that people will start to listen to what you say. And even if it's your elders, they'll start listening to what you say because they see that you are someone who needs to be listened to. So these are things you need to keep in mind. Build your character such that people do listen to you when you talk. All right. Yeah, I think that should be it for that.
So if everyone's okay, we can take like a 20-minute break. We can use the restrooms. There's snacks outside, so please help yourself to some snacks, and then please come back inside in 20 minutes, though, so we can continue, inshallah.
Salawats.
When they talk about women deficient in faith and intelligence.
Right.
Oh, I think you're
Communication is the key in every relationship. I'd rather
I'm not even gonna touch it. The baby blonde. How are you? How's your dad? He's so good. Sorry, I haven't been. It's been a long time. I wasn't gonna take her, and then I gotta get her. Oh. I'm not back. Okay. The boys are coming too. What about Rayhan? Rayhan. Aman has come. They have a coffee. We're missing 4 days.
I would come with you guys, but it's 2 weeks of full school. Pachi raja pada hai.
Yeah, I think a lot of
Pachi pada hai. Like when they come back.
We have the 27th from 2 weeks. Oh, that's good. And then we come back on Friday. So you're going. So
I know. Alija told me they go, but you go because we're not going to be able to go together. Aji, I'm not meeting Niwas Pela. I'm like, I was considering it. I think it's too much. It's too much for him to do for 2 weeks. Plus, my dad like his doctor's appointments and stuff like that. Yeah, he's home. He's home.
He came to my house in Mohammed.
Yeah, that day.
He was telling me, he's like, her dad just wants her.
I know. Because I was going every day, so he was like used to. We were scheduled. No, pehla me umane kiya कि तू तो बैठती भी नहीं हमारा घर में मेरे बात बीच पड़ती हो जाए. He's like, look now, you're here with me.
The most time was when my dad was in the hospital. 2 years ago. That's the most time I spent with him.
I felt like I got so close to him in those 11 days.
Not bad. Do you remember I took a
So
little
I know. Because we get so busy with
I never did. Especially since they did
if there's something going on, you go and then you come back.
Like for, 14, 15 years, right next to
Thank you.
look like my mom.
Zamira, baby, go to sleep.
Bitch, mom, I just had the best sleep of my life. What are you talking about?
Annie? Where you going, Annie?
If she's awake, we definitely back outside though. I'm taking her.
You wanna know the funny thing? Yesterday we had Q&A in the kitchen, right? She was the only child there. Maulana was talking, and she's over here screaming. I was like, child, can you please do this? We don't need to do this right now. Hi! 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 I see you! I see you! I see you! Hi!
He's gonna go back to sleep, but he's sleepy.
Check out your whole cradle and I'm going to sleep. Close your eyes. I'm trying to figure out when.
I didn't figure out what my husband just left me.
I don't think he's going to sleep.
Try to take her out, take her out. See if she'll want to. And do that.
Why don't you feed her something from outside?
No, because everything outside is filled with sugar, and she's gonna be super hyper the rest of the session.
Well, I don't think we want milk though.
We already had enough screaming yesterday's Q&A.
Bye. 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 Okay, bye.
Assalamualaikum. Good. Yes. Yes. Oh, really? Yeah. Yoda. Man. Joe.
Where is he?
Jackson.
Ya sudah bangun kan?
Nah.
मैं तो कहता हूँ ना दवाई उठाई
उठी
जो चिप्स खा लो भैया
No, no, no. And then Maulana's phone now? I see you! Peekaboo, I see you! Shut up. Sorry. It's me. Peekaboo, I see you! You wanna roam? No, don't take her out. No. Yay!
mommy. Yes. You can see my baby.
I take questions and then you didn't write the question. You have your clothes. I was sweating here. You didn't have this. Where's your water bottle?
That's my pen. I gave you the pen. Right there. I didn't care what yours was. You need to party? You need to party, you're gonna have your sister, they're gonna take you, okay? You keep having it.
No, not keep it. For a day, so mom can have it. Zane's not here. No, it's not. Where's Zane?
What you doing, man?
He's out there. He's probably in the kitchen.
Oh, he was, where are you sitting?
Oh, he's right there.
Zane!
What's up?
Zane, Alia back! Where's Zane?
He was here. He disappeared somewhere. Okay. Oh, yeah, true. Like Danny's now. Yeah, he's in the back. Where's your name tag? I need a Sharpie though. Somebody stole all my Sharpies.
Yeah, they did. They stole pens and Sharpies.
Oh yeah.
and says that being a teacher, I see the issue of autism and a lot of mental issues due to mothers making their career, or I think giving more importance to their career. As for 7 years old, mother needs to choose a career or kid. Wow, what a choice. Important, you know? Is it the career or is it my kid? What would you choose? All right, don't answer that. What would Bibi Fatima choose? Okay then, I think that should answer the question, you know? See what Bibi Fatima should choose in that situation, and you go with that. I think that would be a better choice, right? You know, listen, you know, the life of this world is an illusion. It is really an illusion. It gives you a false dream to follow, and you run after it until you now get your first heart attack that will put some sense into you, but it's the second heart attack that actually puts sense into you. You know, the first one is always, you know, like a knock on the door, but the second one, where you have to have the bypass, you know, and then you start changing your life, but then you end up with regret that all this life you wasted on things that were an illusion that you're following. It was never really real. It never gets you anything out of it. And that's the sad part. So listen, more important than, you know, the career, the business is your family and children. Right? Keep that in mind. You know, it is really important for us to give importance to what's more important. Yes, more than that, then you come to your Allah and your deen. That should be the most important thing, because that's your everlasting life. You know, that's something that's real. So these priorities need to be set right, logically. Otherwise, when we make the wrong priorities, we end up chasing things and wasting our whole life. For example, kids, you know, they don't pay attention in their schools, they don't go and do their homework and all these things because they have a dream that they're going to become the next NBA star. You know, and they have the dream that they are going to become the next Bill Gates, you know, or Steve Jobs. And they always say, well, they never went to school, you know. Yes, listen, you know, what's the odds of someone doing that? Why are you trying to chase this dream that won't come true and you end up like this? So, you know, make yourself real. Do real things, and it helps a lot. Okay, so I think that's one of the things to answer that. Oh, okay, now sister, go ahead and repeat your question. Welcome back, everyone.
So aside from the authoritative and nucleus examples that you gave for parents, in terms of the youth and like youngsters, how do we defy gender norms that are set by culture? And the example we discussed was something like setting the table for dinner.
Right.
It often falls on the responsibility of the daughters or the mothers. So like, how can we, I guess,
change that,
get guys involved as well?
Okay, very good. Here's the thing, right? I want you to first of all not look at yourself, but look at the general culture in America. You know, let's look at Americans, just the culture in this country, right? And I tell you that the culture in this country has been corrupted in the last 40 years. It has declined since the 60s onwards. And we have seen it decline. I have seen it decline myself through the 70s and the 80s growing up here. I saw things decline. Every American will tell you that this is not what we used to be. You know, in 1950, America was a different America. You know, it was a different America. Some things were good, some things were bad, but you see that the traditions you're talking about, right, were different than now. You know, everyone used to work in the house, and everyone who works was appreciated in the house, and everyone was expected to work in the house. It was just that you being a part of the family means that we all work to make the family better, even if it's dinner time, even if it's lunch time. Everyone does their share so that we can have a meal together. So now you come back to us. The fact is that we learn from the culture now, because we saw America since when? 92 was the first moment that came here? Oh, wait, no, leave that 59 one, right? You know, I'm sure no one here knows him. Yes, but you see that from that time you saw America. That's not the America that was there in the 70s. That's not the America that was there in the 60s. You saw an America that has already declined and now in a garbage hole, right? And you can ask every American and they'll tell you that really how much we have declined as a society. You know, where we had values, we had families, we had this, and now we have gone through that hip hop, the pop culture, the hip hop culture, the disco culture, whatever, the hippie culture, whatever we had, and now we have ended up into this horrible society that we live in today. So don't take from what you see right now. It is a terrible ending of a society that you're looking at. And for us to learn from them, it will be a terrible thing. Let's go back and learn from what Islam says. All right? Are you ready for that? Yeah. Okay, good. Here's what Islam says, right? We have heard these from Imam Jaffari Sadiq alayhi salam. And Imam said that Allah has made the making of bread difficult. You know, bread is difficult to make because, you know, you have to get the wheat, you have to mill the wheat, you have to then make the dough, and then after that you have to make the bread. Right? He said he made the making of bread difficult. And the reason Allah made the making of bread difficult is so that everyone gets busy and not be idle, so that everyone can work, so that when a bread is made, a piece of bread is made, it goes through so many hands making it and so many processes making it, that when a person actually eats that bread at the dinner table, when he eats that bread, everyone on the table should know the hard work that went in to make this meal. To make this meal. That's it. Understand this. You know, what we do is that we go and buy bread. Imam Ali says that Allah has appointed for you rizq. Right? Isn't Allah Razik? Mm-hmm. Yes, He is. Hasn't He appointed for you rizq? Yes. And you know that the rizq is going to come to you? Okay, good. Now listen to this hadith. Imam Ali says that you get 0% of your rizq if you buy bread from stores. Allah will not let any rizq reach you if you buy your bread from the store. You will get half of your rizq. Allah will give you half of it. Let half of it come to you if you can make your own bread, make your own dough and bread. Take the flour, make your own dough, and make your bread. At home, He will give you half of your rizq. And He will only give you your full rizq if you buy the wheat, mill the wheat yourself, make it into flour, and then make the dough and make the bread after that. Then Allah will give you 100% of your rizq. So if you see that you are not getting rizq, and it's not money He's talking about. You might have a lot of money, but all that money is not your rizq. It's useless for you. In fact, it's harmful for you. Your rizq is that which is useful for you, that grows you. So what you get from your rizq is very important. Why? Because that has to be worked on. Everyone in the house needs to realize hard work. It is a concept of building family. Everyone should be doing the work. Men, women, family, children. The meal time brings everyone together because everyone is doing work to get together. Not that I just eat, and while I'm eating also I'm looking at TikTok, I mean, that's like, listen, we are at a table together and eating. Would you mind putting that away? That's not what we should be doing. Everyone's like on their own, We're at the same table, but everyone's in their own world. This is not a meal. It's as if everyone's eating in their own room. This is not the way that a family is supposed to be. So if that is the case, change it. Boys, girls, everyone needs to get involved. In fact, it's the boys that should be doing the heavy work, like bringing out the plates and all that, putting on the table, and it's the girls that should be doing the decorative work. Trying to put everything in its, nice place and make it all look good. So it's like, for example, the men do the hard work of, putting up the structures and the walls, and the ladies do the painting and the decorating and all of that. So that should be how the work should be divided. Imagine, I want you all to imagine, would you think that Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein let Bibi Zainab do the work in the house while they're there? Just imagine their character. Would you think they'll do that? Okay, you do all the work, we're just coming to eat. Think about that. And then you will realize what is Islamic character. And that's the reason that young men should be so active that they don't need to be asked what to do. They're looking for work to do that. It is said, when the caravan of Imam Hussein was going to Karbala, you see that Bibi Zainab, anytime that she needed anything, there'll be 10 youngsters around her saying, tell me what to do. Tell us what to do, we'll do it for you. Water, we'll bring it. Everything. They're jumping up. Just, we are there for you. When Ali Asghar used to cry, there'll be 10 youngsters coming forward saying, here, give the baby to me. I'll take care of it. This is the idea of a youngster. Someone who's like that active, that is a real youngster. Who has that energy, that strength to do work like that. That's what you want to be. That's what you want to achieve in yourself. Not someone who's asked to do 10 times and say, okay, you know what? Man, he asked me for the 10th time, It's a 10-time rule, I have. They need to ask me 10 times before I do something. So this is not right. This is, a knock on our character. It's a weak character that people have. So that's an answer to your question, right? That people need to understand the basics of deen. Then they will be like, yes, I need to be doing this. Then they don't need to be told to do things. They'll know what to do. Yes. Any other question? Go ahead.
You guys have any? When talking to your parents, they think that we're being disrespectful to them. How do you tell them that you're not being disrespectful towards them? It's like, this new language, bruh.
Language barrier is there. I said, right? Communication skills.
The kids don't mean it, but...
Yeah, I know. That's usually what happens, that the way that the language of the kids nowadays when they talk, and it's not that this is the language. Unfortunately, it's nowadays language after the hip hop culture, It came out, so the way they talk is disrespectful, not just here, but to Americans also. Right? Even amongst Americans, the language of nowadays is very disrespectful. Especially when you hear a kid, just talk like, yeah, whatever, it's like, elders look at that, Joe Biden reminds us that all the time. In my days, if you say something like that, But that's the idea behind it. it has deteriorated into this thing that we see right now, right? So first of all, my advice to the youngsters is this, right? Try to read more books. Try to read, because the language you're using right now is a language that you will hear in rap, you will hear in hip hop, and you think that's the language that everyone uses. No, it's not. If you actually read books, any books, you will see the language that's proper, that is used, and you will know what language to use also. So on one hand, the kids need to learn, using the proper language, and even in English, right? Using that, and on the other hand, yes, the parents need to give the children some chance here, right? And give them some leeway to explain themselves. My thing for the parents is that have patience with your kids. There's 4 types of suffering that have the most reward. There are 4 sufferings. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4 in terms of hierarchy. There are sufferings that have the most reward in them. And if you knew the reward that's in those sufferings, you would want more of those sufferings. And at the top of all the suffering that you get, stress, I'm talking about stress, I'm talking about problems. At the top level, number 1 stress that brings you the most reward is the suffering and stress you get from your parents. The stress that your parents give you. When they give you that stress and make you do things and all of that, there is so much reward in that if you knew the reward of that, you will be asking them more. Give me more stress, give me more problems. I want this because it's like a cash machine. It's like a cash machine. So much cash is coming out of there by listening to that, by going through that stress. So first stress that is the most rewardable in this world is the stress that you get from your parents. The second stress that has the most reward is the stress that you get from your wife or husband. Not a Haidari.
How to calm it. So we need to focus on a solution than problem, right? So yeah, I know stress is, we are getting stress from the spouses, but how to calm down? What's the solution? Because we reply them back.
Listen, if you know that there's reward for it. Exactly. See, that's why, sister, your comment is why Allah put reward there. That's exactly why Allah put the reward there, because He knows there's going to be stress. You're 2 different people. And 2 different people who are coming so intimately together, it is stressful. No matter how much you're in love, it is stress. It is problem, and there's problems that come. And when those problems come, you will see that, Allah has put reward in that. So if you know that there's reward, and there's so much ajr that you will be surprised by it, and you'll be like, okay, good, I'll go through it. Hey, listen, like for example, nowadays Dairy Queen people can't find workers to work. But I tell you this, right? If you can offer $19 an hour, would you lack workers? No. So if you raise the price, people will be like, okay, I'm willing to work. Right? Everyone's willing to do it. So now what happens, the same thing happens now. Allah raised the price of that so that you can tolerate each other. You can have sabr on each other. Right? So the second most rewardable suffering in this world is the suffering of spouse. That when he gets from a spouse, right? The third most valuable suffering and stress in this world is the stress you get from your children. The problems that your children give you. When the kids give you problems and they don't act well, this and that, to be patient with them. To give them the chance to explain themselves. To not judge them right away. To not think that you already know this guy, he's up to no good, you know. You know, don't think that, don't assume that. Don't assume that. You know, give him the chance, and whatever stress you're getting from it is a reward. Allah is saying, listen, there's a reward for you. There's ajr for you. Take it easy. Just listen to what he has to say. You know, listen to what he has to say. You know, so what happened, this is the third most valuable reward that you get. You know, out of the 4 most valuable sufferings in this world. Yes, of course. The fourth. The fourth most valuable suffering that you get is suffering and stress you get from other women. From your other women, brothers and sisters. When you get stress from your other believing brothers and sisters, it is a valuable stress that Allah gives you ajr for you to bear that and to have patience with that. You know, that comes at the 4th level. So these are stresses in life, problems in life that you all should be like welcoming. So children, if they have issues, the parents, you know, the parents should have sabr with them. You know, they're growing up, they're going through hardships. What, you think their life is like all heaven, this and that? You know, they're having a hard time at school, you know, just to say that their name is Muhammad, and, you know, they're having an issue at school with that. They have to go through so much with that. You know, trying to go through the peer pressure that they have, to stay away from haram things, to do all these things. They are going through so much. So parents need to give them the chance to speak up, to let them know, to open themselves up to the parents. Because if they don't open, if you don't let your kids open to you, they're going to open in front of someone else. And that someone else that they open up to is not going to be sincere to them. And then when you lose your kids, you only have yourself to blame.
So Maulana, with this question, what can a child or an adult do to get patience? Like, is there something they could recite? Like,
okay, first of all, what is patience? Yeah, I know. Thank you. Ahsan, very good. MashaAllah. I know. Sabr. What is sabr? Okay, first we need to know the definition, right? Then we'll see what it is. Right? What is sabr? Let me define this for you so you understand it. When does sabr happen? You know when does it happen? You know, because you can't do sabr in all situations. There are only certain situations where sabr is applied. It cannot be applied in every situation. See, sabr only is applied in those situations where your desires are saying something and your aql is saying something else. Meaning in situations, for example, you are in a situation where your heart says, man, I want to do this. And your aql says, don't do it, you know. See, when you have a situation where there's a conflict between your aql and your shahwat and your desires, that's when sabr is applied. What is sabr? In those situations where there's a conflict, to do what your aql says and not do what your desire says is called sabr.
Yeah.
Doing what your aql says in situations where your heart is saying something else. This is called sabr. So now you need to see that situation where you're in and look, okay, is this a place for sabr? My aql is saying something, my desires are saying something, so you know what? Yes, I need to follow my aql and do what my intellect says, as opposed to what my shahwat says. But if shahwat doesn't say anything, there's no sabr there. I have no attachment to this, there's no sabr there. You know, or your aql is not saying anything, so there's no sabr there. But only when both of them say it and there's a conflict between that.
But is that the same thing as your nafs?
Nafs. I mean, by desires, I mean nafs.
Yeah.
When your nafs says something and your aql says something, when there's conflict there, then you do sabr. All right? So this is where sabr is done. So what do you mean by when you say that, how should you do sabr? What was the question now? Sabr? How
So
can you?
they ask like, like let's say, I'll just use me as an example.
Right.
I have elderly mom and dad at home that live
Right.
with me, and sometimes they just like, they say things or they do things that really require me as a child to have patience. And sometimes I lose patience. How can a person, let it be a child or an adult, what can they do, like the smallest recitation or something, to keep them calm?
Well, I mean, here's the thing, right? Some of the things that help with patience is doing dhikr, right? Saying La ilaha illallah. Not just saying it, meaning it, Say La ilaha illallah, asking Allah for help. Taking the time at that moment where you see you might lose your patience, meaning that you might follow your nafs and say that Allah, help me here. I need help. Rasulullah says that Allah, do not leave me alone even for a moment. Even for a moment. Don't leave me alone. It's like that much you're in need, because it could be any moment where you can follow your nafs and go on a slide going in a decline that is so far-fetched and so far down. It will be very hard to come back up from it. And it'll have an effect for a long time in your life. So the fact is that, yes, in those situations, you ask Allah for help. Truly turn to Him and not do anything. Best situation, like Islam advises us, when you're in a situation where you see it's difficult, stop there. Stop yourself there, go back, sit down, make wudu, see what's going on. Just relax. You don't need to do anything at that time because you're overwhelmed. Ask Allah for help, get advice from people who are wiser, and then, take your steps slowly. So these are things that everyone should do in terms of their family. Children, elders, don't need to reply right away to everything. Don't need to respond to everything right away. Even husband and wives, you don't need to reply right away to everything. If your wife tells you something, it makes you angry, you don't need to respond right away. You just have to wait for your turn. But if you do wait, your response will be much milder than if you respond at that time. You respond at that time, it will be way overboard. And then it becomes overboard until it becomes like an explosion happening, So you want to wait, and after 3 days reply, you will see your reply will be completely different. Or respond. You want to respond back, fine. Respond back, but take some time, and then you come back. This will help you all a lot in your relationship to make things from going out of control. Yes. Yes, go ahead.
Back to the question about disrespecting towards parents. How do we tell them that, how do we acknowledge to telling them, stop comparing us to other children? Because then we feel, bad in that sense.
Okay, so listen, very good, right? If your parents, what's wrong with being compared to other children?
We feel like we're not doing the same thing as them because they're better than us.
Meaning that you are now feeling that I'm being compared to this other child.
That I'm not.
Now, is he a Shia, that other child? No, really.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, Shia, right? So you're being compared to a Shia. You should be thankful for that, right? You should be, thank you for comparing me to a Shia. That's a lover of Ahlul Bayt. I love that, But yes, if they say that you're like that kafir or that munafiq, then that's different. But if you are being compared to a Shia, you should love that. Thank you for that, for respecting me that way. Because it's a sign of respect that when you say that you're like that Shia kid.
She means stop. I think she means that you're not good enough. Not good enough. Self-esteem, right?
I'm talking about cultural norms, let's.
Huh? So what you're saying is that they're saying it in a derogatory way, to put you down. Okay, very good. You know, here's the thing, right? We are not allowed to beat our child or strike them in the face. We're not allowed to strike a child in the face, even in a small way, like this. Allah says, don't strike your child in the face. The reason is because Allah has given dignity to human beings, has made them dignified. لَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. We have dignified human beings. We have given them dignity. No one has the right to take that dignity away. Even parents don't have the right to take away the dignity of children like that. It is an important issue for Allah. He regards that as very important because that dignity is there to protect them from going wrong. You will see that many times you don't do wrong things in life because you have a sense of dignity about you. It's when you lose that dignity, then you get into cheating and deceiving and lying and doing all kinds of hustle and bustle, wrong, haram things. But when you have that dignity with you, you will see that, you know what, I don't want to do this. Because you know that there's a dignity that you have, and if you can realize that Allah gave that dignity. That's why parents are not allowed to break the dignity of children. It is haram for them to do that. To put them down or to make fun of them, because children have no recourse other than the parents. For everyone else, they have a recourse for their parents. They go back to the parents, right? They have something to hold on to, a refuge. But if the parents were the refuge, if they start to put you down, where are the children going to go? Who's their refuge now? You see, that's why Allah made it haram on them to do anything that is going to take away their dignity. Right? So when you say that they are going to put you down and parents do that, this is haram for parents to do that because you are taking away the only refuge that they have in their young life. Later on, they will find Imam Hussein, and they will find Imam Ali. They will find Allah to take refuge in. Right now, they don't have it. They have you. You are their wali. As an adult, they will find their wali, and they will go there and they'll seek refuge in them. But right now, they don't have it. That's why you have no right to take away their wali. And you are their wali, and you are destroying them by taking your wilayat away from them. And this is something that you should not do to children. So look at yourself in this way, my parents. Maintain the dignity that you have, your kids' dignity, because you are their wali. They need to look up to you. You are their refuge, like we are the refuge of Imam Hussein. Imagine if Imam Hussein or Imam Ali says, listen, I don't want you all to come here, I don't like you. We'll be like, okay, where do we go now? We'll be so helpless. That's the same thing that we're doing to our children when we put them down. Yeah.
What should a mother do when the father is verbally abusive to the kids and wife? And the kids recognize this and now talk ill the mom. They talk ill to the mom as well.
La ilaha illallah, astaghfirullah. All right, listen. Abusive relationships are never good. They are bad. And it doesn't mean that the man is wrong. It might just mean that the relationship is wrong. This relationship is wrong. And that's why Allah has made the room for divorce. When a relationship becomes harmful that you lose Allah, then that's the time you get divorced. So if you see there is abuse and that abuse is going to destroy the relationship between you and Allah, then that's the recourse. Unless the The abusive relationship can be changed by someone who is in charge or has the authority or the power to talk to that man and say, stop it. For example, Imam Ali, when he was a Khalifa, his husband beat up his wife, and obviously it was in the streets, outside their home, so it was in public, and Imam Ali was told about this. Imam Ali himself goes there and beats up the husband in front of everyone. Beats him up. And why? Because, listen, this is haram that you did, and there needs to be punishment for that. The fact is that, physical abuse is something that cannot be tolerated in any community, in anywhere. It should not be tolerated. Because this is what animals do. We're not animals that hit each other, I don't know, teach them something. Like for example, like you'll hit a donkey, hit that donkey, let's go, you don't hit your kids, they're not donkeys, they're human beings. They have a mind, they have a brain, and everyone else does that. You need to talk, discuss. And if there's someone who is abusive, he needs to be told, he needs to be advised, he needs to be put together, family needs to have a meeting. And it's much easier amongst you because you all are one big family, and there's always someone in charge, this and that, who can come there and say something, some elders and all that. Get involved in that. Do something like that. But abuse should not keep on going, because what it does is that it will break your relationship with Allah. You will see that slowly that becomes kufr inside you. And you start blaming Allah for what you're going through. Inside. You won't say it in your tongue. You'll be like, alhamdulillah, whatever. But inside, you are becoming a kafir if you let this go on. Right? It should be something that your faith is something you have to protect. Yeah. Go ahead.
The girls have.
Girls? Okay.
I'm pretty sure you've already talked about this topic already, but I guess I'll go ahead and ask my question. How do children deal with experiences that their parents did not go through? Like, for example, growing up in different places and us working corporate jobs, whereas they haven't worked corporate jobs.
What's the question behind that?
You want me to repeat it?
No, what's the question in that,
Elaborate.
No. Are you asking how do the kids deal with it?
Yeah, how do we deal with that?
With the parents not knowing what you're going through?
Mm-hmm.
Well, again, as I said, listen, like I said earlier, a lot of things depend on communication. A smart person is someone who talks to the people according to their intellect. So as a child, I need to see the language and the way that my father understands things. Learn about him. Learn about how he thinks, so that I can approach him in that way. You live with him, so you should know what makes him tick, what makes him do things. So you need to approach him that way and explain to him in that way. If you try to just explain to them things or say things to them, it might not work. You need to see how they work. You see, everyone, when a husband and wife gets married, there is no love between husband and wife. There is no love between husband and wife. Right? 1 year after they get married, you will find a little bit of love. At 2 years, that love will grow. 3 years, that love will grow. Their love will reach the height at the end of their life. It will reach the height at the end of their life. So keep that in mind, that more you know each other, the more you will love each other. That's why you need to learn about your parents more. I regret, a lot of times I didn't spend more time with my father finding out about him and his life. It's a regret. Why not? Why did I spend? I mean, he had so much experience to give me. So many of these things he gave me, I didn't take from him. It's a sadness, that you have. Why aren't you taking advantage of your parents who have gone through a life and experienced life and have experience? Learn about them. Talk to them and know them well. Then you will strike a relationship with them. Instead of just eating together and, wanting things from them and this and that. It will be more than that. Learn about your parents and what they've gone through. Each and everything. Who are your friends? How did you make friends? What happened? There's so many things. It's an amazing thing how Allah made each and every one of our life. Every time someone dies, it's like a whole life that is its own book. From its own angle that no one in this universe has. Just like everyone has their own fingerprints and their identification in their eyes and everything, just like that, every one of our lives is different, and the angle by which we saw this life is different. When someone writes a book about your life, it will have an angle that no other human being in this world had. So it's unique. Wouldn't you want to know the perspective of your parent? Because you know what? That's a unique angle that no one else has. And I have that in my house. Parents. So for kids, I encourage you to get to know your parents well. Not just knowing them, their age and all that, but their life, their experiences, their achievements, their victories, their failures. All of that goes into creating a relationship with each other.
This is a question. I understand the example of choosing kids over career, but it sounds discouraging by saying those who choose career first are neglecting to choose kids. How do we break the mentality?
Okay. Well, here's the thing, right? We are talking about choice. Choice, it means that choice only comes into existence when there's two things that you like to do, and if by choosing one, you can sacrifice the other. But if you can choose two things and maintain that, then it's not a choice. Right? It's not a choice. And that's the thing. You don't have to worry about that if you can maintain both of them. We're saying if you choose your career and by which you sacrifice your children, then it's wrong. So you'd rather choose this. But if you can maintain both, then that's fine. Then it's not a choice. Then you can do both of them. So there's no, contradiction in that. Yes. Questions are coming, don't worry. Yeah, the men, you all didn't ask any questions yet. They're like, listening.
How can you encourage someone to pray? Girls often do as they've been told, even if they don't want. But boys are sometimes harder to discipline.
Well, listen. Prayer is not easy. You know why Allah asked you to pray? At first. There's many reasons, many layers of explanation. You know what's the beginning reason that Allah asked you to pray? What is the first reason that we pray, that Allah says pray? And He made you pray 5 times a day. And you all different times. Why is it that Allah asked you to do that? First, understand this. Allah made prayer such, the ruling of prayer, just look at it, it's beautiful. Allah made the ruling of prayer such that it is inconvenient to you. Very inconvenient. Prayer is the most inconvenient thing that comes at the wrong times. Look at yourself. When does prayer comes? Just when you feel that morning mist under your nice silky covers. And then that alarm goes off. And you're like, oh my God. It's just 2 more hours. It's true, isn't it? And then when you're working, then that business deal has to come and right at door time. Oh my God, Right in the middle of the day. When you want to work and get it done, you can do it in the afternoon. Then after that, you go where? Evening time. And then all of these times are inconvenient. And Allah made the rule so that it is inconvenient to you. That it is a bother for you. And He wanted prayer to be a bother in your life. Because when you go and pray and it's inconvenient and bothersome to you, that's how you're going to break down that ego. Discipline that ego that you have. Yeah. Break you down that, who do you think you are? Come on, get down. Allah is now breaking you down. You know, that's why prayer is there. First, yes, later on you'll fall in love with prayer, but until now, it's like, it's hard. So if the children say it's hard, so yes, of course it's hard. No one says it's easy. It is hard. It's very difficult. We all know it's difficult for me also. So it's difficult for you. So what's wrong with being difficult? Difficult is something that we should like. That's the sign of a great human being, when he likes difficulty. People who run away from hardship and difficulties are not great human beings. They're just human beings. Greatness comes when you are okay with difficulty and hardship. That's when you become like, yes, this is a person. This is someone great. Look at in every field, all the athletes that you see who are great, they didn't become great by being lazy. All those great athletes and stars that you see, they never, they're like, okay, let me just rest for the day, They never become great like that. They've only become great after hard work, back-breaking work. And that's the way it is. We have to be like that, want to be like that. So prayer is like that. You need to explain to those kids that, listen, prayer is hard. It's there to make you go through hardships. It's teaching you to do that. So that's one of the ideas. Yes?
So this question comes from like a mom of a preteen or teen. How do we reduce the influences of social media and other influences that are out there and increase the influence of like the imams, the naima, and the Ahlul Bayt as well?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, right? We had a workshop once. I remember we did a workshop where everyone, we got into a room like this, and it was just with kids. You see all these kids over there. So no adults there, right? See, at least with the adults, I know I have an audience that I can speak to. With the kids, I know I don't have an audience I can speak to because they're all looking at their phone. So now what happens is that we said, all right, let's do the workshop, but it's not going to be talking. We're going to do the workshop on our phones. So we all sat in the room and we are doing the workshop on the phone. And everyone's reading the workshop and everyone's interested in it now, It is a reality of life that the phone has become the preferred method of communication. It's the new, like for example, it's the new dating, For example, in the old days, you used to go to a restaurant, have a meal. Now you just go on the phone, and that's how you do it. This is what the phone is now. It's the preferred method of communication of this generation. Whether it's good or bad, that's a whole different thing. They don't know how to talk anymore. They know how to write, though. And they know how to communicate through writing. This is something that has happened now. It's a reality of life. How do we deal with it? We are still trying to figure that out. But you see that, how are we going to get them out of that? Because everyone that they know in school and everything, this is how they talk. This is how they communicate with each other. They might be eating in the cafeteria next to each other and they're writing to each other. Instead of talking, they're writing to each other. But yes, you're not used to it, neither am I used to it. Right? I'm not from that generation. But I can understand that, okay, they're going through that. But there are certain things, obviously, that are, ridiculous and that we shouldn't get involved in, like TikTok. And I was all for Donald Trump trying to get rid of TikTok, you know. But yes, I mean, yeah, those things are a waste of time, and you know, I mean, I don't know why everyone finds amusement in stupid things that people do and record and they post it and like, hey, look at this stupid thing, this stupid thing. Why am I interested in this? I mean, really, ask yourself the question, why am I interested in this? Why, like, looking at other people do stupid things? But
So this is a good question. How can I reduce the addiction of social media, and how can I increase the love of our imams in my heart?
As I just asked them.
You did?
Yeah.
okay, no, the way he asked is different.
Yeah, I asked it.
Let me get about the addiction problem, right? How do we get rid of the addiction of social media? Okay, I'm just going to take a seat right now. Let's send a salawats. You know, one of the reasons why we do send salawat is that the knowledge of Ahlul Bayt requires ability to comprehend and be understood. And what salawat does is that it gives us the light to understand that knowledge. And that's the reason that we send salawat, so that, you know what, this knowledge can be understood by us. Now let me tell you about addiction to social media. You know, all the rules that are orally, that Allah has said, applies to social media also. Like ghibat, like lying, like slander, all of these things apply there. Like vain talk, vanity, all of them apply there. In fact, it's a lot more, because there's more ghibat and there's more backbiting that's being done when you talk to people on WhatsApp or something like that, because you're not there in front of them. And a lot of these things, thank you, sister, you can just keep it. A lot of these things are haram. They're haram, just like talking. So the same rules that apply to talking apply to social media. What you say, you have to be very careful. What you hear, you have to be very careful. If someone does ghibat, you can't say, well, I didn't do it. I'm sorry, you were a recipient of it. You are responsible for that. So it's very difficult to stop people from saying things. If you don't do ghibat, if you don't slander, if you don't do say vain things or stupid things, then you won't be writing anymore and reading anymore. The addiction is this. The addiction to social media is what? I can say things without being responsible for it. That's the addiction. If I am with someone, I can't just say things without being responsible for it. I feel responsible when I say something. I feel bad, you know, that I insulted him, offended him. But you can go to any comment section of any video on YouTube and you will see this world of stupid that everyone is just, you know, easily able to say whatever they want about anyone else without feeling any guilt. I mean, what is this? This is haram. Yes?
Sorry, isn't like forwarding messages that you have received over, say, your Facebook or your WhatsApp or over text, doesn't that fall in the same context?
Yeah, same thing.
You're responsible for?
You are responsible for that. If you forward something to this one person, this and that, just over here, right? It is wrong. You know, when you know that this is wrong. Misinformation, it's a lie. To forward lies is same as lying. It's the same thing. So be very careful when you write. You have to take responsibility for that. Allah will not say, well, oh, okay, just because it's social media, I'll let you go, you know. It doesn't work like that. You are responsible for it. So everything you do that. And if you can realize the weight, and if you feel the responsibility of it, then addiction will go away itself. You know, okay, I can't write this, I can't forward this, I can't say this, so what do I have to say now? Nothing. Well then, you know, that'll be it. You see, that's how it ends. Otherwise, I mean, if you are easy with being haram and doing wrong things and despicable things, there's nothing you can do about that. Yes, la ilaha illallah. Yes,
when people blame the phone, when people blame the phone, they don't realize that phones and social media is what brought our generation together. How do we fix this?
They brought the generation together? No, actually they kept keeping people apart, because you can be sitting in the same room and be in a different world. At least in the past, when everyone used to be in one room, they used to be in one room, paying attention to each other. Now they're sitting at the same table eating, and they're in a different world altogether. So it is dividing us. It's not bringing us together, right? The issue is that it's not about that. Yes, in certain places, it's not that it's wrong. Yes, of course, it's a way of communication. It's fine. It's a way that you are able to communicate with people who are in India in a much easier way. Fine, that's what it is. But what we have gone through is this, right? Is that every new thing, they say that every new dish is delicious. It tastes good, it's like, all this delicious. That's the way with these phones and these things. It's new, so we are like, wow, wow, wow. We're still in that mode right now, wow. As opposed to trying to get the proper usage of it. Right? So we have to grow out of that. As a whole people, I'm not just talking about us, I'm talking about everyone else. We need to grow out of that. Yes, brother.
Well, can I follow up to that, maybe just a comment on that, see if you could elaborate more.
Sure.
Do you agree, or can you elaborate more that technology, social media, especially for a younger generation, is actually creating some leadership problems as well as just general communication problems, where we cannot have a very good leadership development of any sort, or have sort of a good foundation around how to communicate in public and things like that?
No, that is obvious. That is obviously the case. And there have been many, like, for example, you see documentaries and movies made on those type of subjects and themes, where people who are constantly behind computers and phones, right, when they're brought to the forefront to take leadership roles, they have no way that they can have interpersonal contact with people. They have no way to deal with other people. They have no way of taking criticism from others. See, that's one of the main things that's bad, that you don't have a way of taking criticism. Like, for example, if I'm a leader, there'll be 10 people who will criticize me. So if I'm going to get angry and lose myself at every criticism that comes in the way, you will never be a leader of people. You can never be a leader of a movement. You will not stand up for anything because you are afraid of criticism. That's why you hide behind the computer. Yes, because from there they can say big things. They can make big claims, from behind the computer. But okay, you know what? Let's meet somewhere and see. How about meeting at Denny's and then see, how you? That's it. They won't do that. So what's happening is that you're creating this whole world of like this very small people who have no guts and who have no ability to actually come out in the real world and make a friend. So they have 0 friends in the real world, 5,000 friends on Facebook. But 0 friends in the real world. Why? Because they don't know how to create friendships, how to create a social life. And yes, it is detrimental. Now let me add one more thing to that, which is very important when it comes to this social media and them being always around computers and this and that. One of the issues, and this is not just here, I'm not talking about the kids here, right? I'm talking about kids everywhere. Here in the world, not just in America, but in the world right now. It has overtaken everyone. It has overtaken everyone, the world right now, and it has happened. You see, one of the things that happens here is that credibility is lost. You don't trust anything. You don't trust anything anymore because there's no trustable source. Anyone who writes this and that, either you trust everyone or you don't trust anyone at all. And that's what you call the two sides in America, the Republicans and Democrats. Those who trust everything and those who don't trust anything at all. What happened? Why is this? Because everyone, they lost their sources, and this is why the kids right now are unable to trust anything, and the news that they get and the things that they get on social media and the people that they get. See, at least whenever, for example, a masjid used to invite an alim to come here, the masjid, the people who are in charge of the masjid, they make sure that he's an alim, he's studied, he's this and that, right? I mean, there's a vetting process for it. Not every Tom, Dick, and Harry just kind of, say what he wants up here. There's a process for that. And the more serious they are about deen, the better they will be at vetting the process. But what did the internet do right now? It made open a host of all kinds of Tom, Dick, and Harrys with no knowledge to go out there and give speeches, and people are listening to what they're saying about Islam, and that's not actually Islam, it's called Hislam, because it's his version of Islam that he thinks, and then what happened, and now we get confused. Well, he said this. Well, who cares what he said? He's not an authority. Right? He's not Ayatollah Sistani, he's saying this. I mean, why are you even trying to think that what he's saying is something that has to do with Islam? And who is that person in the first place? So you go in the back and check it out. You see, and that's why it's very important that the trust issue is going away. So now when someone who is real going to come and say something, people will have doubts because they've already experienced so many wrong things that now when someone actually says something that is from Islam and that is from Imam Sadiq, they're like, wow, we don't know. And that's what will happen with Imam-e-Zaman. See, when Imam-e-Zamana will come, there'll be so many liars who came before that now people will have a hard time even trusting the Imam. We don't know if it's really there or not. Whether he's saying is really right or wrong. They'll have doubts about the Imam. And this is the problem, my friends. This is what's happening, and that's what we need to avoid.
So, this is just like a 10-minute warning.
Oh, I know. Hey.
Because I know you're probably exhausted, and then you have a lecture.
No, I'm used to a 2-minute warning,
Okay, 2-minute warning.
You're being lenient with me. So I like that. Yes, go ahead.
On your last statement, you said about trying to change the viewpoint or change the narrative. Can you give us maybe 2 or 3 things that we as a community can do now to try to change that?
Well, one of the things that, I would tell everyone, right?
And I'm sorry, one more thing. In our community, there are problems like that, and that's the reason why I'm asking.
Okay. Well, I'll give I don't know what exactly that you want me to say. What you want? If you can elaborate on that, I'll appreciate it. But I don't want to.
Bilal, get a mic because the live audience can't hear you.
Oh no! Hold on 1 minute. Use the mic because there's a live audience.
Yeah.
The internet audience, they want to hear you.
Yeah.
So hold on. Here we go.
So on your last comment, you said, to look at, regular alims or look at alternatives to what's being taught online and things like that. But, you know, 2 or 3 things from your perspective on how a community can make that change or kind of move towards you know, if things like that exist in the community today.
You know, I mean, these are not like hard things for us to understand, very simple things. Let me just give you simple things that everyone should know this, right? And this is in vetting the imams also. You know that we didn't accept, Shias did not accept the imams until the imams could prove they're the imams. I mean, just by the imams claiming themselves, the imam suggesting, I'm the imam, you know, we were like, okay, prove to me you're the imam, right? And that's the right way. Because what if someone wrong comes along and says, hey, I'm the imam also? Right? So a claim should not be the standard for us, just to accept anyone. It should always come with standards, with background, with education, with things, you know. Yeah, there must be something in the background for that person, you know, what's he doing? And then his life. What's his life for? Is his life for deen, or is his life to enjoy himself, you know, and become famous? You see, and this is the issue that happens, you know. A lot of people are not sincere to Allah. They're not sincere to Imam Hussein. They're more sincere to the people. You know. They want to make you happy, you know. So you can invite them again and again and again. But, you know, when it comes to a choice between you and Allah, they will choose you. I don't know what they'll get out of choosing you, but they think they're, you know, getting another invitation to come to Jaffari Center. That's what they're getting out of it. But you know what? That's not going to help them in their grave. It's not going to help them in the akhirat. And we should not also encourage such things. And why are you choosing me over Allah? I'm not going to give you anything, man. I'm in need of Allah's help in my grave. You know, why are you looking up to me for help? I'm nothing. You know, and that's the way it is. Your strength should be the fact that you have faith in Allah and you believe in Allah. And you believe in Ahlul Bayt as your wali. And that should be your faith. You should not be afraid of that. So when it comes to ulama, it's very important to choose the right teacher for your knowledge. Very important to choose that. There's so much emphasis on that in hadith, that it says that when you want to learn Islam, first you go through the teachers and see the teacher and see his sincerity, see where he stands, you know, on things, and then you start learning. Learning from the wrong alim will destroy your faith. And you wouldn't even know it. You wouldn't even know that it's being destroyed, that you're going way downhill. You know what? It happens. Now, you know, I mean, I don't know. Let me give an example. There are these 3 shaheed, the story of 3 shaheed, remember that? The story of 3 shaheed. All of them were students in the Hausa. All of them were good, pure students, and they all became shaheed. And 2 of them came into the dream of their teacher, you know, who was an Ayatollah. These 2 came into his dream. The teacher saw them. The teacher saw them and said, how are you doing? He says, Allah has fulfilled our promise, His promise to us. We became shaheed, and now Allah has fulfilled His part of the promise. And we are thankful to Allah for this. Okay, mashallah, you know, we're in heaven, we're this and that. So the teacher asked them, where is your partner, the 3rd one? He's also shaheed. And they said, oh, he is so far above us that we cannot go to him. He's very high. He has gone very high, above us, so far in rank. Because in heaven there are ranks and ranks and ranks. He says so far above that we are like, you know, I mean, he comes down to meet us once in a while. But he's like so far above us. He says, how did he get that far? And you are at this level, that's lower. And you know what? They said, well, you know, we too used to listen to this speaker, and our friend warned us, don't listen to him. He is not mukhlis for Allah. Don't listen to him. But we thought we are learning from him anyway. So we listened. And we only listened for 2 months. But that 2 months created this division between us in Jannah.
Wow.
This huge Jannah. It's better not to listen to a wrong person. Right? It's better to choose that. Okay, I don't want to listen. I want to listen from the right source. You know, it's very important. It's in our faith. Our faith is affected by these things. And we should have to take those things seriously. That I want to see someone who's mukhlis. I want to see someone who fears Allah. I want to see someone who's learned and who knows what he's saying, and who's very careful when he says things. Not that he makes big claims and left and right and says, speaks confidently, you know. It's not confidence, foolishness. You know, if I was more learned, I would be more careful in what I say things. Because I've seen ulama much better than me. When they talk with hesitation. Because they're careful of what they say. I've seen my teachers and the Maraji, when they speak, they're very careful in what they say. They don't make big claims. Why? Because they know. They know that, how this is. An example from India I'll give you, right? If it's in the 10-minute warning. All right, 2-minute warning. I'll give you an example. In 2 minutes, I'll give it to you. 2 minutes, India, you know? In villages in India, right, you used to have those doctors, you know, and this one doctor would serve this many villages. He'll have this little thing over there. And then, you know, they would have a compounder there. Now, you see, mostly all the patients just used to come and ask the compounder, right? He would be the one giving out the medicine. In fact, they become so experienced that they already know, you know, what sickness you have. You know, the compounder who works there, right? So what happened is that one time this doctor died and the compounder was there. So the people came and he said, well, the doctor died. He said, well, you know also so much. You give it. So, I mean, he just used to give the medicine to people without even checking their pulse or anything, you know. The doctor used to check his pulse and see this and that. And he used to say, you have this, and he give this, that, give that. So, you know, the people advised him, hey, listen, you already know so much. Why don't you go to school and become a doctor and come back here? We need a doctor anyway. So what happened is that he went to go and study. He became a doctor, and then he comes back. And now when he comes back here, now when the patients come, he's looking at their pulse, he's using the stethoscope, he's like looking at all these things, and the people are like, man, you were better when you didn't study. You know, you could just see us and know what's wrong with us. Now you look at all these things. Why are you looking at these things for? So he said that before I didn't know what would happen to you if I give you the wrong medicine. Now I know. Now I can make the difference. I can see that if I give you the wrong medicine, what would happen to you? You see, this is what knowledge does. It makes you careful because you know that one wrong idea put in the wrong place can have such devastating effect in the lives of people. So many places, one wrong action, you know. I mean, you know, to see, you know, for example, an alim doing something that an alim is not supposed to do. Can have them, and then you're like, okay, yeah, this guy is doing this guy is doing that, and it becomes like a joke. These are things that are very, very crucial in life, that you need to be very careful in knowing how to look at knowledge and deen and learning it from sources that are mukhlis, sincere, and those who fear Allah. These are things that my advice would be, so that when you look at that, you'll be like, Alhamdulillah, I know that I can trust this knowledge and put it in practice that way. Wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Let's do Allahumma salli ala